So in this video, I want to talk about outsourcing and hiring a virtual assistant, or just hiring in general to run your drop shipping business, okay? Now, you can do this for eBay drop shipping, you can do this for Amazon drop shipping, you can do this for really any e-commerce business. I don't know why I didn't add one, that's 3. And you can obviously do this for your Facebook drop shipping business, which is primarily what we're going to be talking about here, okay? Now, in my opinion, there's 3 main ways to do this, and I wanted to tackle this question because this seems to be a recurring question that I constantly get almost every video, as well as through email, almost on a daily basis. And I totally get it. The first time I hired somebody was about a month ago, I think. And so before that, I literally didn't know anything about it. I had to learn it on my own and then put it into practice and kind of take the leap of faith. Hire. It worked out, obviously. One of the best things I did, and probably one of the best things you can do to scale your business, make more money, and take your time out of the equation, right? But I don't want you to go in blind and have to learn along the way. So I'm going to outline exactly how I did it here, how I recommend that you do it, and the 3 main ways that you can approach this, okay? If you have any questions too, just drop them down below in the comments section. And as always, if you guys want to scale your dropshipping business, Dropship Pro is linked in the description as well, okay? So there's 3 main ways, like I said. The first way is to basically hire somebody local, and I'm primarily gearing this to the first way that we're talking about here, towards people that are primarily in the US, because obviously if you're drop shipping with Facebook Marketplace, if you're Amazon or eBay, it's gonna be slightly different, but very, very similar. But if you're drop shipping primarily with Facebook Marketplace, chances are you have the shipping option and you're in the US. Otherwise, you wouldn't be coming back recurring watching all these videos in sequence, right? So if you hire somebody local or you hire somebody that you know, obviously the drawbacks of that, and this is something I've kind of mixed the first one that we're going to talk about here with the third one that we're going to talk about here in a second. This is the drawbacks of doing that are obviously you have to pay more for somebody in the US, right? So the going rate, I believe minimum wage in most states-ish is I honestly don't even know, but I think the minimum wage in some states is $8 or $8.50, something like that. Don't quote me on that. I should probably know that. But for most states, you're probably going to be looking at paying anywhere from $10 to $12 right now currently. And that's a good going rate for most people, right? The benefit of that, or that's obviously a drawback that you have to spend that kind of money. Whereas if you outsource to somebody in the Philippines or you outsource somebody, in another country, you can pay a lot less. And don't get me wrong, that has its benefits we're going to outline as well. So you're paying more, but on top of that, you can almost have them as your actual real assistant, and you can train them to do so many other aspects of your business, and they can pretty much tackle everything with you, right? So they're gonna speak English, you're gonna be able to communicate back and forth with them a lot easier, you're going to be able to train them on multiple things, right? Because if you outsource to a VA in another country, chances are you have to build a system or give them tutorials or train them on a specific aspect of your business, right? Whether that's product research specifically, whether that's, sourcing specifically, or not sourcing, I guess, ordering and order fulfillment specifically, whether that's listing specifically, right? And so most people, if you're outsourcing to a different country, are gonna have VAs for each specific thing, right? So you have to manage more VAs that do individual tasks and then pay them all slight, obviously per hour, even though it's cheaper. If you outsource somebody locally that obviously you have that trust factor, or even if you hire somebody locally or within the US, you're gonna pay more, but you have that trust factor. You can obviously have them do more things for you, right? So hypothetically, let's just look at the numbers, right? If you are making even $100 a day, which practically everybody can do if you're in the US, and you can scale it up to $100 a day at least. Most days, it depends. My sales were super high this month, and then this past week, they kind of crashed a little bit, but still I'm on pace to hit about $6,000 at the end of today. So sales are going pretty well, right? So I don't know what that comes out to daily, but it's obviously over $100, right? So if you're making over $100 and you're paying somebody within the US about $10 to $12 an hour, let's just take $10 an hour so that it's easy to do the math here. And you're paying them for even 8 hours of a day, right? That's $80 that you're paying, right? So if you're making more than $100, that you're still profitable and you're not doing anything, because you can train that person to literally do every aspect of your business, right? And then as they scale your business for you, you just net more profit, right? Now, in the beginning, if you don't need them to work 8 hours a day for you, maybe you only need them to work 2 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours, right? Well, then you're only paying them $20 a day. 40 bucks a day, 50 bucks a day, 80 bucks a day, whatever it is. And again, they're scaling your business, doing all the grunt work while you're doing whatever else it is that you're doing, enjoying your life, going to the beach, right? Taking little Johnny to soccer practice, or even working on another aspect of your business. Maybe you're doing drop shipping or scaling an e-commerce side of your business with something else entirely, right? And so they're going to do all the grunt work, and it's still a really desirable job for them because they can work anywhere, right? They can work from the comfort of their own home. They can work on their couch doing pretty much whatever they want, and they can work from their computer, right? So it's a very desirable job to have. If you compare something like working at like McDonald's or like working at like somewhere like Target for somebody, well, they're getting like 10 to 12 bucks an hour if they're a high school student who already has like the computer skills to do a job like this, right? And they would prefer to do the job that you're asking them from the comfort of their own home on their couch with their own computer, rather than like going into Target and dealing with customers and having to stock shelves, or going into McDonald's and dealing with customers and taking orders or flipping burgers or whatever it is, right? So you're offering a very desirable job, you're paying them a good hourly wage, and they're scaling your business for you. And then obviously, as you build more trust with that person, they can take over more aspects of your business, right? So I'm not just talking about outsourcing and having them listing for you, right? Or outsourcing to them and hiring them for just, order fulfillment. They can do your listing. They can do your order fulfillment. They can do your renewals, which as you scale, trust me, I have probably over 10,000 listings now, and renewals every single day suck to do by yourself, okay? So they can do all that for you, right? They can also do product research. They can work on other aspects of your business. They can do customer service and constantly answer your messages, so you can be doing and scaling your business and going about your life, right? So this, in my opinion, is the best way to do it. I'm gonna talk about the other two here that are more remote and scaling outside, obviously, and hiring VAs outside of the country, right? But I think that is something that a lot of people don't talk about, and something that a lot of you should actually consider, and it's definitely something I've considered, and I've actually mixed this first one with the third one we're gonna talk about here in a second, okay? So I'm sure I missed some positives there, I'm sure I missed some negatives, but start to think about actually starting a legitimate business and hiring somebody within the US that you can build trust with, and they can work on, as like an assistant that's actually running the entirety of your dropshipping business, right? Not just outsourcing specific tasks overseas, okay? That's the first method. I highly recommend thinking about that. But again, don't just jump in blindly. If you're making like 50 bucks a day profit, probably something you shouldn't do right now is hire, right? You should work on scaling it yourself. We're really talking about like making 100 bucks a day or more. That's when that type of stuff comes into play, and you should start thinking about doing this and scaling a legitimate business, okay? Because then as you move into like other parts of dropshipping or other parts of e-commerce, that person can learn, grow with you, and help you scale your business as well, okay? The second way is to hire somebody overseas with a VPN, right, or proxy, so that they can use the VPN service to sign in with all your accounts, and it makes it look like they're in the US, okay? This is probably the one that most people talk about here, but I'm just gonna X this out of the way. I don't know why I'm like holding it up like X, like Des Bryan almost. Hate the Cowboys. But I'm just gonna X this out right away because personally, I don't like it. I don't trust a proxy. Facebook, I know from running ads, Facebook is like God somehow, right? They know almost everything. And so I don't trust any proxies. I don't trust any VPNs. I think eventually you're gonna get caught, and I think it's gonna look a little bit shady if Facebook sees you pinging like a VPN from Texas or pinging a VPN from California, and you're signing into an IP address there, and then like 2 hours later you're signing in from like New York or something like that, right? This is just my personal opinion. I know there's a lot of other people out there that use VPNs, hire people from the Philippines or hire people from India or wherever, and it works well for them. I personally don't trust it, so I don't want to recommend it, but I wanted to touch on it here, okay? So that's number two. The first one is hire somebody locally in the US, actually scale a real legitimate business, pay them like 10 to 12 bucks an hour, and they can take over everything for you as you train them slowly, right? The second one is use a VPN, outsource it, and we're gonna talk about how to specifically outsource here at the end of the video here in a second. So hire somebody, have them use a VPN and sign into your accounts. The third one is the one that I've mixed with number one, and that is to basically hire somebody from overseas, relatively cheap, right? And then you can have them sign into a software which mirrors your computer, right? So for example, I don't want to turn this because this computer is kind of broken, But right now, I don't know if they're actually on it right now, but I have a laptop that just sits here, right? And I have another laptop and I have my main desktop computer, okay? And so this laptop specifically is just for my Facebook Marketplace VA. And what they do is this has a software on it, and there's many softwares out there that you can basically download. TeamViewer is one of them that's super popular, and I believe there's a free way to get TeamViewer for free. So that's TeamViewer, right? One word, teamviewer.com. But eventually, as you scale, you're gonna need to sign up for TeamViewer and pay, I think it's like 99 bucks a month. So I didn't wanna do that because like I said, I was learning the ropes about a month ago, so I didn't wanna just jump into like $100 software without knowing anything or even if it was worth it or if it would work for me. So what I did is I researched a bunch of other ones, and I came across one that was Splashtop that had a bunch of good ratings, so that's what I use, Splashtop, right? And so what I do, or what you can do, is you download the Splashtop or the TeamViewer or whatever software to your computer. You then instruct whoever you hire to download that same software, and then they can sign into your computer with your sign-in and your password and work from your computer, your IP address, and then Facebook's never gonna know. It's just them signing into the software from your computer and working from your computer, okay? That's the safest way to do it. Splashtop, I believe, is only like 9 to 19 bucks a month, depending on what plan you use. I think there's like a more expensive plan, but you only need like the first or the second one. You don't need the expensive plan, depending on how many VAs you have and how many people are actually signing into your computer at once, or whatever it is, your Splashtop thing. So that's what I recommend, right? We talked about 1, we talked about 2, and this is obviously 3. I recommend thinking about 1. I recommend thinking about number 3. I wouldn't recommend using a VPN. Again, that's just my opinion. Splashtop works very, very well. It's what I currently use. You can actually see the person on my computer right now moving around. I don't know if you can see that because I don't want to tilt my screen because the screen's broken a little bit, but they actually are on there right now. There you see them scrolling. So that's a great software, highly recommend it. It's super, super cheap. Now the ways that you can go about outsourcing are, obviously you have your main things like Fiverr and Upwork, right? So like you go to those websites, and they're freelance websites. Those are really, really easy to get started with. And then obviously as you find different people and you test them out, you can move them directly to you and pay them directly. It's great using Fiverr and Upwork because they act as the middleman, and a lot of these times you're hiring somebody from overseas that you don't necessarily have that built-in trust with yet. So you can use a website like Fiverr and Upwork to test those things out, and then they'll be the middleman with your money so that you don't have to pay that person unless they fulfill their actual task and job. And then you can use those websites to vet people and then hire them and pay them directly and bring them off of the websites so that they're making more, you're not paying as much of a high percentage because the website takes their cut, and then you can use it as like a good starting point to find VAs for you, okay? Another great website that you can use is onlinejobs.ph, which is specifically Philippines. I know a lot of people recommend that. I've used it before. Didn't use it to find mine, but it is a good one that you can use. There's a lot of good VAs on there with e-commerce experience. And another really slept on one is just join virtual assistant Facebook groups. So virtual assistant Facebook groups, there's a ton of them out there with a lot of people looking to become virtual assistants that you can go ahead and interview a bunch of people or test a bunch of people and see who's the best for it. Or you can even go to a specific group for that, right? So like if you're doing Facebook dropshipping, well then go to a Facebook Marketplace dropshipping group, find a VA in there, right? So those are 5 different ways that you can go ahead and actually outsource and hire somebody. So there's Fiverr, there's Upwork, there's onlinejobs.ph, there's Facebook groups for virtual assistants, and then there's Facebook groups for your specific, e-commerce business that you're doing, okay? What I would recommend that you do, regardless of which one that you actually choose, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, and the medium that you actually decide to hire with, whatever website it is or whatever Facebook group, don't just pick one person and hire them. Because even if they're like half decent, you're not gonna know like what's good and what's bad unless you test a bunch of different people, okay? So I would say at least hire 3 to 5 people and give them similar jobs, right? And see how they perform, and then whoever stands out, stick with that person, or the couple people that stick out, stick with those people, and then eventually take them off platform and pay them directly. If they're obviously within the US, you can pay them within the US using something you can use like a software which I use for my company, which is Gusto, and they handle all your payroll. If you are just paying them directly, then I recommend using a QuickBooks type of subscription and paying them through like Venmo or PayPal or something like that, and then just writing those off as like expenses for like freelance work. Or what you can do is if it's overseas, you can just pay them directly through Western Union. And believe me, this is probably the hardest part about hiring someone from overseas, is like finding a payment processor like that you trust, that you can pay them in US currency or whatever currency you're in, and that it then collects it, transfers it to their currency, and then pays them out through that currency. And the exchange rate is pretty much handled for you, and you don't really need to worry about any of that stuff. So that's just kind of spitballing off the top of my head. I didn't really plan this video, but I wanted to get it out today because a lot of people have this question, and I've been meaning to make this video. I've just been super busy scaling my e-commerce side of the business. I'm really excited to make the next video probably in like 12 days about like how much I made this month. Again, Facebook Marketplace should be about $6,000 profit by the end of today. It's only the 18th. So realistically, I think I'm gonna hit the 10K. I don't know what pace that sets me on, but it's looking like I'm gonna hit 10K for Facebook Marketplace. I'm also working on hiring virtual assistants and scaling my Amazon side of things. So that's very, very exciting. And there's been one product specifically that has been just crushing it for me on Amazon. So I'm very excited about that. But long story short is I couldn't do this if I didn't hire, okay? And hiring and outsourcing was one of the best decisions that I made. If you need, any clarification on anything, if you have any questions, just drop it in the comment section down below. So I really hope you guys got a lot of value out of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.